Hey there, I'm glad to see you on my channel. Make sure to subscribe as we post amazing stories every single day. I didn't notice when the first cracks in our marriage began to form. That's the thing about distance. It doesn't announce itself. It creeps in like fog on a cold morning, settling into corners so quietly that by the time you realize you can't see what's ahead anymore, it's already surrounded you. My name is Jason, and for the longest time, I thought I was one of the lucky ones. I had a steady job, a decent home in a quiet suburb, and a woman I loved, Anna. She was smart, calm, driven in a quiet way. When we first met, her laugh made everything else around me fall quiet. It wasn't dramatic or loud, just soft and real, like something I hadn't known I'd been missing. We were together for nearly 4 years. The first two were filled with movement, dates, trips, building a life. The next two were quieter, more routine. We still cared, I think, but we also stopped noticing the small things. And that's when it started to happen. There was another constant in my life, Josh, my best friend since childhood. The kind of person who could walk into a room and command it without saying a word. He was the opposite of me in every way. Confident, reckless, spontaneous. I was the one who planned ahead. He was the one who jumped first and figured it out later. I always thought our differences were what made us such a strong pair. Josh had been around since before Anna. He was there when we moved into the house, when we got engaged, when we said our vows. Anna liked him immediately. He had that effect on people. I never questioned their friendship. I trusted them both, and for a long time, there was no reason not to. But then things began to shift. It started with small things. Josh began showing up at the house when I wasn't around. I'd come home and find him helping Anna in the garden or fixing something in the garage. He'd say he was just in the area or that Anna had texted him for help. It wasn't suspicious at first. He'd always been close with both of us. But gradually I noticed that their conversations paused when I walked in, that Anna would smile a little too quickly, that Josh wouldn't meet my eyes. Still, I told myself I was overthinking. I was working longer hours, distracted, tired. I wasn't putting in the same effort at home, and maybe I was seeing problems where none existed. That's what I convinced myself of, until I found the receipt. It was a simple piece of paper, folded into quarters and tucked behind a lamp on the hallway table. I wasn't looking for anything. I just happened to move the lamp to plug in my phone charger, and it fluttered to the floor. Dinner for two, a hotel bar downtown. Dated the night I'd been out of town on business. My first thought wasn't betrayal, it was confusion. Why would Anna go there without telling me? Why hide it? And why with Josh? I confronted her that night, not with anger but with uncertainty. She froze when I mentioned the receipt. She didn't deny it. She didn't lie. She simply said, in a voice I barely recognize, that there was something she needed to tell me. That was the moment I stopped breathing. She said it wasn't planned, that it had started when we were drifting apart, that Josh had been there, that he listened, that she was lonely, that it didn't mean she didn't love me. But the words didn't matter. The facts were what they were. My wife had cheated on me, and she had done it with the one person in the world I never thought I'd lose. Josh didn't deny it either. When I confronted him, if you could call it that, he just looked at the floor. He said it was a mistake, that it got out of hand, that he never meant to hurt me. But he had. They both had. I didn't scream. I didn't throw things or punch walls. I just walked out. I drove to a hotel on the other side of the city and sat in silence for hours. My phone buzzed nonstop. First Anna, then Josh, then back to Anna. I didn't answer. There was nothing left to say. In the days that followed, everything blurred together. I didn't go back home. I asked Anna to pack some of my things and leave them on the porch. She did. I didn't see her. Our mutual friends started reaching out. Some had known, some suspected, others were just shocked. The social circle I had spent years building fractured in a matter of days. People took sides. Some tried to stay neutral. But neutrality in betrayal feels like betrayal itself. For a long time, I couldn't sleep. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw them together. Imagined conversations they must have had, laugh they must have shared, lies they must have told. My mind became its own torturer. But slowly, something else crept in. Clarity. Not the kind that comes with forgiveness, but the kind that forces you to see what was there all along. I began to realize how disconnected Anna and I had become. We hadn't really spoken, in months. We'd stopped touching, stopped noticing each other. We'd become roommates in a quiet house filled with memories we were afraid to examine. That didn't excuse what she'd done, but it explained part of it. What hurt more than anything was that Josh had known all of this. He had seen me try, seen me worry about her, and he still made the choice he did. He didn't just betray our friendship, he stepped into a wound and made it deeper. Weeks passed. I got an apartment, started therapy, quit drinking, threw myself into work. I didn't speak to Anna. I didn't speak to Josh. I avoided the places we used to go, deleted the pictures, burned the letters. But healing is strange. It doesn't come in a straight line. Some days I felt okay. Other days I felt like I was drowning all over again. The nights were the worst. I'd lie awake wondering how someone I loved could have looked me in the eye while carrying such a lie. Then one afternoon, about 2 months after I left, I got a letter in the mail. No return address. It was from Josh. Just a short, handwritten note. He said he didn't expect forgiveness, that he'd been jealous of my life, that he thought he was filling a void, but ended up creating one instead, that he regretted everything, that he was leaving the city. I tore it up and threw it away. Not out of anger, but because I knew nothing he could say would ever make it right. What surprised me more was the email I got from Anna a few days later. It wasn't emotional or desperate. It was calm, measured. She said she understood that I didn't owe her anything, but that she had started therapy too, that she was working on herself, that she missed me, not just the version of us that had existed before, but the version that had been lost along the way. I didn't know what to do with that. For weeks, I didn't respond, but I thought about it more than I wanted to admit. Eventually, I wrote back, and that's where things started to change. My email back to Anna wasn't long. I didn't pour out my feelings or try to dissect what had gone wrong. I just told her the truth, that I was trying to move forward, that I wasn't angry anymore. But I also didn't know if we'd ever find our way back to each other. I told her that I appreciated her honesty and that I hoped her journey through therapy brought her the clarity she needed. She replied once, simply to say thank you, and then she didn't write again. I think we both knew there was nothing left to rebuild, only something to bury, respectfully, so it didn't haunt us forever. In the months that followed, I spent a lot of time alone, more than I had in years. At first, the silence felt like punishment. I'd turn on the TV just to hear voices. I'd go to the grocery store and linger in the aisles so I wouldn't have to go home. But slowly that changed. I started going for runs early in the morning. I signed up for a woodworking class at the community center. I learned how to cook more than just the basic 3 meals I'd always made. I built routines. I stopped feeling like a man who'd lost everything and started feeling like someone who was rediscovering who he'd been before it all. Then one weekend in late spring, something happened that I didn't expect. I was at a bookstore flipping through a photography book I had no intention of buying when I heard someone laugh nearby. Not just any laugh, a real one. Warm, the kind that felt alive. I glanced up. She was standing a few feet away, talking to the clerk. She wasn't striking in an obvious way. No flashy clothes or dramatic gestures. Just, genuine. She had dark, curly hair pulled into a low ponytail, a faded green jacket, and eyes that seemed to notice everything. I wasn't planning to talk to her. I wasn't ready for anything like that. But she noticed the book in my hands and made a comment as she passed me. Something about the light in one of the photos. I nodded, said something back. She smiled. I walked out of the store 15 minutes later with a phone number I hadn't asked for and a feeling in my chest I hadn't felt in almost a year. Her name was Riley. We took things slow. I told her early on that I'd been married, that it had ended badly. She didn't flinch. She didn't ask for details I wasn't ready to give. She just listened. She worked as a veterinary technician, loved animals, hated small talk. She read constantly, took long walks in the evenings, made playlists for every possible mood. She had a way of laughing at herself that made me feel like I could be vulnerable too. There was no rush, no pressure, just quiet conversations, shared meals, time spent getting to know someone without the weight of expectation. What surprised me the most was how different it all felt. With Anna, love had come in fast, exciting and intense. With Riley, it came like water soaking into dry soil. Gradual, natural, necessary. After a few months, she stayed over more often. My apartment, once sterile and neat, began to feel lived in again. Her toothbrush beside mine, her books stacked beside the bed, her favorite tea in the cabinet. I didn't realize how much I'd missed the intimacy of daily life with someone until it returned, quietly, like it had never left. It wasn't perfect. I still had bad days. There were nights I'd wake up from dreams about the past. Sometimes I'd flinch when Riley touched me unexpectedly. She never got offended. She just asked if I needed space. She never pushed, never demanded I be anything other than who I was. That kind of patience is rare, and I didn't take it for granted. 6 months after we met, we were sitting on the balcony, sipping wine and watching the rain fall over the city, when I realized something simple but profound. I felt at peace, not euphoric, not ecstatic, just calm, whole. And for someone who had spent a long time feeling broken, that meant everything. I didn't plan the proposal the way people usually do. There were no elaborate dinners, no secret photographers, no rings hidden in champagne glasses. I just knew one morning that I didn't want to keep wondering if the good things in my life would disappear again. I wanted to choose them, actively. So I bought a simple ring, took Riley back to the place we'd had our third date, a little park with a coffee stand and a worn-out bench overlooking a quiet pond. We sat, talked, watched the ducks. Then I pulled the ring from my pocket, looked her in the eyes, and told her the truth. That she'd made me believe in love again. That she'd shown me what it meant to feel safe. That I didn't care about grand gestures. I just wanted to share my life with her. Every mundane, extraordinary day of it. She cried, laughed, said yes. We didn't call anyone right away. We just sat there, holding hands, letting the moments settle between us. It didn't erase the past. Nothing could. The scars were still there, quiet reminders of what I'd been through. But they no longer hurt. They no longer defined me. They were part of the story, but not the ending.